those of you that have not been before, Darren, why don't you talk about who you want to feature today? We always make sure we're featuring a restaurant with a drink because it's our way to make sure we're promoting other businesses that need help. You all know how much we need help as an arts organization, but it's a way for us to try to patronize some restaurants in our city. Darren?
Yes, and this is Pamplemoose Grill, which I think maybe a couple of you would have heard of before. Maybe, I don't know. Of course, everybody has. And Michelle, when you're here next time, we're going to have to take you because it's pretty wonderful. It is a San Diego staple, and we have Melissa here from Pamplemoose Grill. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. I
to
see
be
you're out
here.
in a tent, so that means you're serving in a tent now.
We are. So as of last week, outdoor dining was available to us. We kept our tent open. It actually has a lot more room than our indoor restaurant with limited capacity. So we're very excited. Kind of want to show off how romantic it can feel at 6 feet apart from other tables. And I don't know. So if you guys have heard of us, we had a fire 2019, the day before Thanksgiving, and we actually didn't reopen until last November, the 12th, right into COVID. We remodeled our restaurant. So you guys should definitely check it out once we have our indoor back again. We were indoor for 2 days and then outdoor the rest. And we were waiting for you guys to come meet us. We've been friends with the San Diego Opera for many years, even though I am fairly new. Jeffrey, chef and owner, has been associated with them for a long time. So very honored to have been invited. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Jeffrey Strauss, I'm sure most of you know his name. I've worked with him many times. He is probably the funniest chef I've ever worked with in my life. And he does do a lot of giving to his community. So we really appreciate that. And we appreciate you being here. And we have a yummy Pamplemoose Martini.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So a little backstory. Pamplemousse in French, pamplemousse, means grapefruit. And when Jeffrey was studying abroad in France, that was his favorite French word, which is how we got our name. And the delicious martini that some of you have made is one of our staples and one of my personal favorites. So cheers, you guys.
Cheers. Raise whatever glass you have, or if you don't, say cheers anyway.
I know.
So, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back to Pamplemousse as soon as we can, and I think we can go there now. So That's great. Please support them so we can keep them around for a very long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, David.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Of course.
So I just want to say a huge welcome back virtually, but wish you were in person to Michelle Bradley. We're so thrilled to have you join us today. And I think it's kind of one of my personal triumphs to have gotten to know Michelle and brought her here early on in her career. So I'm just so thrilled to have you joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, gosh.
It feels really good to just be in the midst of everything. Can't be there physically, unfortunately, but I'm having a lot of good memories coming back right now, though.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you were here about a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
October, right? And
Yes.
How have things been? It's been tough for all of us. What's your life been like?
Big changes, but thankfully I've been able to spend the majority of it with my family. When COVID started, I was already home thinking it was going to be a short visit, ended up being a year. But I've just got to spend every day with my family. It was a real blessing because it was a very tough time career-wise, and didn't know if I'd ever get to sing and all of that. So it's had its ups and downs, but for the most part, things have still worked out. They really have.
Good. Yeah. Well, that's great where you can see some kind of blessing in a real challenge and take advantage of that time. We did a Bohème in October of this year outdoors, and our Rodolfo was talking about that because, he said, Josh Guerrero, I don't know if you know him, but his career is really taking off, and especially in Europe. And so for him to actually be able to carve out time to really spend with his family was super important. So take advantage of it in the way you can. So after our Aida, you were really set to have a ton of work in front of you. And were you able, did any of that come to bear, or did it pretty much dry up for you?
It kind of dried out, but one of my biggest things I lost this year was I was going to do Hernani with San Francisco, and unfortunately that didn't work out. They tried everything they could, like everyone else, and it just wasn't safe enough.
Yep.
But they were still kind enough to pay me half of what I would have made. And I did a little summer virtual concert for them where I sang the aria from Elvira. And it's still, you know, I got a little bit accomplished, but it was nowhere near what it would have been.
Yeah. Well, I got to hear you in the Met New Year's Eve broadcast, which I was really looking forward to hearing you, but I didn't get to hear you as much as I wanted to hear you. But it was still nice to be included in that, you know, the wonderful broadcast. So I was listening.
I must say, the Met was very kind to me in that moment. Yeah, I was supposed to have had more, but it didn't work out that way. But they still made me very much a part. And so I think that's one of those instances where I have to know, you know, whatever I sing, whether it's a big role or a small role, someone is always watching, someone's always listening, and I give the same energy. If it's one line or if it's a whole opera, give the same energy. That was my lesson.
That's great. That's great. Well, it's a good. Well, it was wonderful to hear you. You shone. I just was like, oh gosh, I wish I could do more tonight. So, so let's get to know you.
I was happy to be on stage with Anna Netrebko.
So exactly. So, not such a bad experience, right? Yeah. You were. It was certainly an evening of illuminaries. Let's put it that way. So yeah. So I just want to get to know you and let our patrons get to know you a little bit better. We have some videos that I've been digging around that I want to play. We have a few more than I normally do, so I'm going to try to cut talking short because I wanted to make sure everybody gets to hear other music and other sides of Michelle Bradley. So, but tell us about your early life and the role that music played in your early life.
My early life, I grew up in Versailles, Kentucky, and I'm a church girl. My parents were very involved in church, and so that made me very involved in church too. I grew up singing in the choir, children's choir, and trying to make a long story short, our pastor told my parents, your daughter is too tall. I'm sorry, she looks like a grown woman compared to the other kids, so she can't be in the children's choir anymore. I was only 10. I didn't understand what he meant, but I couldn't do it. So my dad was like, well, she likes to sing and play piano, so we'll just have her teach the children's choir. And so from there, I ended up being a choir director when I was 10 years old, and I started teaching adults too.
Wow.
Earlier than that, I just was singing as a toddler. My parents sang around the house and I would mimic them. And I was just always drawn to music I was a hyper child, if you will. And I was the only girl, so I was a little spoiled, and music got me to, you know, chill out.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Oh, I'm the only girl. I have 3 brothers though, 2 older, 1 younger, and they will. Yeah, I'm the queen.
Yeah, I'm sure. I do. I think I remember one of your brothers.
But they make me believe it.
Didn't one of your brothers come to the Aida? Didn't we see one of your brothers in the
Yes, he did. My second oldest brother is a Marine and he lives in Las Vegas, but that was the first time he's ever heard me sing at a professional level. So it was a big deal. And my cousin was with him. Yeah, that was the day he came was my father's birthday. So it was just like a whole emotional thing. But yeah, my brother Eric did come and hear me.
The whole family thing that day.
And he still talks about it.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
that day.
So your education. So you're playing the piano and you're doing choir, directing choirs, children's and adults. Where do you make the decision that you want to study music in a college? And was it, I want to be a singer, or was it, I want to be a choir director, or what?
Well, growing up, I didn't know how to read music or anything. It was all by ear. And I kept that up all through high school. I was in a choir called Harambe, and it was mainly created for students of color to make us feel more included in the community and so forth. And it was started by my social studies teacher, Mrs. Morford. And from there, she noticed me and she was like, I'm known at home as Tammy. That's my first name. And she was like, Tammy, you know, you could really do something else with this. You know, this is not all you can do. We're going to try and get you an audition at Kentucky State University. And I didn't know very much. So I was like, okay. And so I went and sang for the choir director, Dr. Carl Smith, and Andrew W. Smith was the vocal director. And I ended up being accepted. And Andrew Smith, I like to call him Mr. Smith, was my first voice teacher. He taught me all about opera, introduced me to Leontine Price, and from there I just fell in love. And I've said this to so many people, but he gave me her Prima Donna album.
Oh yeah.
And back then, that was when you had portable CD players, and I took that CD and walked around campus listening to it. I never returned it to him. And I just felt like I felt like that is where my voice belongs.
Yeah.
I really did. And he was like, yeah, that's what you need to be doing. And so it just went off from there. I fell in love with opera. And
well, you have a lot of Leontine in your voice. You have a lot of other singers in your voice too. But that was a really smart move. It's true. It's a really smart move on his part to give you that in your ear to sort of focus in on and thinking about hearing yourself in Leontine. You just mentioned this choir that's a choir that was designed for people of color. You know, we're in kind of end of the second week of Black History Month. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is, the role or the contributions of Black singers and artists in total, not just singers, but all kinds of musicians that have played in this field. And we've been looking back and seeing how we've been really able to benefit from some Black artists here in San Diego, but we have not done it nearly enough. And it's actually something that the opera industry is looking at right now, so we can make sure that we're trying to make doors open more than they did before. So how does that make you feel? I mean, you're standing on the shoulders of some pretty big singers of color, but you also are really starting to rise up as a singer of color. So that's probably an interesting role with some responsibility and some gratitude, I would think, right?
Very good choice of words. Responsibility is a big one. Just because I know what the people before me had to go through to get to places that I have surpassed in a way. It's some wonderful African-American opera singers that never made it to the level I'm at. And I don't even feel like I'm, into the heights just yet. I'm just getting started. Yeah. So I do take it very seriously what I'm doing to be where I'm at, and knowing, even my own teachers, Mr. Smith, Andrew W. Smith, Wilhelmina Fernandez, Myra Merritt, I worked with all of them, and they all have wonderful and some painful stories to tell me of what they had to go through just to get on that stage, just to simply sing and share an art form. So
did you study with Wilhelmina?
I did. Wilhelmina Fernandez, she's now Wilhelmina Fernandez Smith. She was married to my first voice teacher, the late Andrew W. Smith. Yeah. And so at Kentucky State, when I'd have lessons with him, sometimes she'd just pop up. She'd fly in from France on a break, and she'd end up teaching me something, French music. And I really learned how to carry myself and everything from her. She was just still is. I still keep in touch with her. She sent me flowers when I did my Aida with you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's just such a classy lady, such a
But
classy lady. She's living in Lexington, Kentucky now, and actually teaching special ed students. She's
wow,
retired from opera, and she has a wonderful heart for children that need extra love and care.
that's fabulous. For those of our
Yeah.
patrons that don't know her name, I believe it was the movie Diva, isn't that right? Where she sang
Yes.
the big aria from Lawali. That's the very famous aria, and it was in that movie Diva. Darren, you should take note because that's the recording that you fell in love with in high school. So it's such a small world.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Opera world is small.
Very right. So you were in Kentucky.
Yeah.
At some point you were in Houston. Tell us about how that happened. And we also have a common friend, Robin Angley, who has been a supporter of yours in Houston and who also supported your role here, who's a real
Yes.
lover of opera. So tell us about when you were in
Yeah.
Houston, how you got there, and your relationship with Robin.
Okay. I went to grad school in Bowling Green State University, and that's where I met Myra Merritt. I worked with her. She was my voice teacher for 2 years. Still keep in touch with her too. Wonderful lady, as we all know. And after I graduated in 2009, I moved to Houston, Texas on a whim. I wasn't sure really what to do. I didn't know the step to get into young artist programs or get to bigger stages. And I was just fooling around on the internet one day after school, and it was like, okay, I'm getting ready to graduate. I need to figure out where I'm going to go. And I saw that Houston Grand Opera Chorus was having auditions. And I was like, okay, I'll just do that. Filled out the application, got accepted, went down there and sang for Richard Beto, got into the chorus, packed up my stuff, and my brother Eric drove me to Houston, Texas from Ohio.
Wow.
I was in the chorus, and one of the altos at HGO introduced me to my teacher, Lois Alba, who is a friend of Robin Angley. Lois Alba holds a competition every year, a voice competition. And I ended up working with Lois. She encouraged me to do the voice competition. I came in second place in 2011, and that's where I met Robin. She gives the second place prize, gave it to me. Denise Graves was there. She was one of the judges as well. And from then on, Robin kept supporting me. Any audition I did, anywhere I sang, she helped buy my gowns because I wasn't making much money at the time, helped me with flights, hotels, everything. Both voice competitions are around the US. She supported all of that and still does now, you know.
Wow.
She's
So
gives me recitals at
that's
our home.
the many of our patrons probably don't realize this, but that is something that happens in our career, is that there are, you know, people that are generous. Robin is very generous to Houston Grand Opera, board member, supporter of productions, but also is incredibly passionate about singing. One of the things I love about Robin is when we talk about singing. We just talk, you know, we talk about the artists that we like, and did you hear so and so, and so she was clearly like sort of smitten with you, and decided she needed to help, right? Yeah.
She understands singers because she's a singer herself, and Lois Alba was her teacher as well. And Robin can tell you as well what a wonderful teacher Lois is, and she has supported me a great deal. I didn't know very much about the Met until I got with Lois, but Robin, she really gets singers, and she has a big heart for young singers.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, she just really understands. It's a struggle at first because we can't really do the 9-to-5 jobs in order to support ourselves. It's kind of, you know, living hand to mouth there for a little while.
And you got to put the money into it first. You got to spend the money to be heard before you're making money.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
Very true. You have to spend the money to be heard. You got to spend the money for the applications, the flights, the hotel rooms, the dresses, keeping yourself together, the lessons. Gratefully I didn't have to pay for lessons because, you know, Lois and Robin just, you know, didn't allow that. But you know, later on you do have to pay for everything. So, you know, it's good to have somebody that believes in you.
You set up our first video really well, because I believe this is from a Lois Alba competition.
Oh
And
my
it's
gosh.
Depuis le jour. So I think it's from Lois's competition, right? I think so.
I
A concert. Yeah.
It depends on
And
what outfit. If I'm wearing black, it's from Lowest Competition. It's from, if
you're
I'm
wearing
wearing
black.
red, it's from, okay, it's from
You're wearing
Lowest.
black. So, and I chose this. So many of you know this aria, Depuis le jour. It's ethereal and you float so beautifully. Aida showcases all of your talents, I think, but we got to hear like the big, bold Michelle and Aida. And of course, there's lots of pianissimi, the high soft notes in Aida. But what you're able to do in Depuis le jour is sort of remarkable to me. So
Thank you.
I wanted to share some other sides of Michelle, Tammy, Bradley. So why don't we cue up the first video and we'll listen to that, Joey. It's so great in your voice. That is just amazing. So there are two things that I find remarkable
Thank
about the way
you.
you sing this. First is your legato, and we've talked about this with our donors with other aperitivo about, if you think about a violin player playing with a bow and drawing a bow across the string, the connection of all of the notes with legato, but the kind of intensity of spin you have on the small notes and the big notes is completely equal. So it's gorgeous legato. It's just, do you know that, and do you really
Thank
work
you.
on it? Is it something you think about a lot, or?
I have to be honest. Um, First, I have a really quick, short, funny story. When I was working with Myra Merritt in Bowling Green State University, I remember one of the first lessons I got about legato. She would, she was funny. She would give me like a little hand towel and she would make me go around the piano very slowly. But also, I was like, Miss Mary, you're trying to get me to clean your office because it's like it's getting dust off the piano too. But she would make me sing all of my arias and go around the piano with a little dust cloth very slowly, and that taught me about line. And to this day,
Yeah,
that is what I think about. If
that's
some
great.
if one of my coaches were to say that's a little too choppy, I go back to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it is that. It's the, it's the
it's keeping
horizontal.
it
Yeah,
straight.
yeah, yeah, and keeping the energy
And
going this way. Yeah.
Lois Alba, I believe I first learned that aria with her. She would tell me to think of it like a brook
Huh.
and the water flowing over the rocks and just how smooth it remains despite it flowing through the rocks, over the rocks.
So
So a lot of imagery helps me
of
as a
course,
student. A lot of imagery. Yeah.
and I think most singers, patrons would be interested to know this. You work with a voice teacher, and sometimes you work with a coach, and sometimes the teacher can be very technical, and sometimes teachers like Lois, who can be very technical, can also have a lot of imagery. And sometimes you need two sides of
Yeah.
input to be the sort of picture, and the other one
Yeah.
telling you about passaggio and the other terminology, right?
A, a great teacher. When I was in the Lindemann Young Artist Program, I worked with Diana Soviero, and I keep in touch with all my teachers, Lois, Myra, Diana, all of them. They've all given me something wonderful that I take on that Met stage with me or wherever I sing.
Yeah,
And a great teacher, they know their student well enough that they know how to get to them. And all
yeah,
of my teachers knew. I have to be honest, I'm not the best um, technical person. Like if you explain it to me, like your diaphragm is supposed to raise like this, and I don't really get that. You have to give me a picture to think about. And
hmm,
once they do that for me, I can take it and run with it.
that's
So,
wonderful.
and they all understand that.
The other thing that I really think find remarkable when you're singing is how you sing, how you spin to pianissimo, so the soft singing. You do it in Aida too, but you can sing very big and sort of bold and bright on the top, and then you spin off to a very soft sound. But what winds up happening is the sound continues outward. It has as much intensity of forward spin, even when you're singing soft, which a lot of singers, when they sing in the soft, pull it back inside their mouths. Yours just continues to just like spin outward. So it's gorgeous. I
Mhm.
just find your singing of
I
Deputy
have to
remarkable.
credit Diana Soviero taught me that. I have to credit her with that. I mean, like I said, each teacher taught me something that's really specifically them,
Yep.
but that one is from Diana. She taught me about that being a sweet spot where you can take that note, and although it feels like it's going back, it still will shoot right
Yep.
out,
Yep.
and it's still supported. That's the main thing.
You've got it.
It's always supported.
You've got
Yeah,
it. So
she she helped me perfect that.
So we've got another thing that I want to hear, and this is a different side of Tammy, Michelle. So you have a real interest in jazz, right? You're a jazz singer too.
Oh my gosh, you found those. I like to do it for fun. I like to do it for fun. And what you found, I think I know what it was. It's on YouTube. I
Yes.
actually did it as a favor to a friend, and I didn't think that it would become what it has. I didn't think people would take much interest in it, but at jazz, or I like R&B and jazz, but that's something I usually just sing for fun, but
Well,
it became a wonderful experience, and I did all of my favorite jazz songs. So
that's great. Well, I tell you, it's as expressive as anything else you sing, and it shows a different part of your voice, but it also shows like you're incredibly musical and expressive, and you're that way when you sing Aida, but you're also that way. And what we're going to hear is Stolen Moments. So,
oh wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So why don't, it's not short, so why don't, but I want to hear it all. So Joey, cue that up. This is not a video, it's just audio, but we get to see Michelle's face a lot, so that's good.
Mhm.
How I miss all the stolen little moments, the many times I'm not with you. They are such precious stolen little moments that are meant only for us two. Whenever you're gone and I know you're not here, it's so hard to remember when you disappear, with your face always there right in front of me, dear. But you belong to her. But you belong to her. Why do we have to have stolen moments? Why can't I always have you near, holding you in my arms forever, and I never have any fear. Whenever you're gone and I know you're not here, it's so hard to remember when you disappear, with your face always there right in front of me, dear. But you belong to her. But you belong to her. How I miss all the stolen little moments, the many times I'm not with you. They are such precious stolen little moments that are meant only for us two. Whenever you're gone and I know you're not here, it's so hard to remember when you disappear, with your face always there right in front of me, dear. But you belong to her. But you belong to her.
That was awesome. So tell us about that experience. How did that happen? Who were you with? Where did you record it? Who were the other musicians? I don't know the composer, but it's a great piece.
Oh wow. So I recorded it in Houston, Texas, and forgive me, I don't remember. I think some of these guys heard of me. His name is Joseph Piney. He is a local Houston musician, big in the jazz field, and I forgot how I ran into him. I think I did a short part on an album that he was producing, and he called me back to do just a jazz album. He said he wants to do a jazz album with me, and he let me choose all the songs. Of course, he had some input, but a lot of these pieces were just jazz songs that I really liked. And in my mind, it was just doing, just expressing for fun, and but he's really taken it and but forgive me, I know a couple of musicians were from the Duke Ellington band,
Ah,
and some of them were local guys from Houston. I'm sorry, I'm so bad with
no,
names,
it's okay.
but
It's been a while too, right? So
we yeah, I did that about 6 years ago now. I think I did it in January of 2015. But we did it at a little house. I mean, I was just like standing in the living room, had a microphone in front of me, and we did it all in one day. I do remember that. We did
that's
it all
awesome.
in one day.
So you've got the end of that is a vocalese for our, like to have our patrons
Mhm.
learn some things. At the end, she's not singing words; she's just singing on an ah vowel. Was that improvised by you? Were you just singing what came to you?
I was just singing what came to me.
Yeah, it's great.
And it was all improvised.
Yeah.
I don't remember doing very many takes of those pieces. It was just going by what I had inside of me.
So your childhood and your experience of playing by ear and just having your ear tuned like that is
Yes.
incredibly beneficial to a jazz musician. So, it's great that you
Oh
can
yeah.
both. You like and also
It's been
it's good for you, right? It's what I'm
it
hearing
works with
is,
opera too.
yeah, of course, yes, right.
It works with opera too.
But what I'm hearing in you, and this is interesting, is that you have easy access to your chest voice. You have to have that for Aida too. Aida has to sing low in the chest,
I
but you
get that
drop.
from my mama.
Oh, really? Yeah.
My mama was a contralto. She had
Oh,
a really nice, lovely, deep voice. Yeah.
well,
I have no doubt that's where I get that
well,
from.
it's an interesting question because I was going to ask, were you a mezzo before you were a soprano? But no, you're just from your mama, huh? Yeah.
Just from my mama. Another funny story. You're just bringing up so much stuff, David. Um, when I started college, I was in the opera theater music program with Mr. Smith, and that also fostered my love for opera. But every year he'd want to do excerpts from the Magic Flute, and of course it would include the three ladies.
Yeah.
When I started my freshman year, I was singing the third lady. Everybody thought I was some mezzo contralto, and then he was like, "No, let's try it." Next year I did the second lady. Finally, my third year I did the first lady. It's like, "Oh, wait a minute." He talked like a big football coach. He's like, "Wait a minute, Bradley, you got some high notes." So like every year I was singing a different level. But yes, people, when I got to college, people thought that I was a mezzo. I didn't know what I was. I just sang. I didn't know
Well,
what I was.
it's probably good you weren't there more than 3 years because you probably would have been singing Queen of the Night next, right?
Oh, I don't know about that. No, it would have been a cutoff point. No, Mr. Smith caught that. He was like, no. He'd be like, "No, brother, you're not Queen of the Night, but you got a little leotine or something." No, I wasn't gonna do Queen of the Night. I don't think
So
that's the call of my life.
that's good, exactly. So you talked a little bit about the Lindemann program, and tell us about
Yeah.
that and how that came a part of your life. And then I'm going to tell a story when I heard you first. So tell us about the Lindemann
Okay.
program. Yeah.
Lindemann Program. I have to thank Lois Alba for that because when I worked with her in Houston for the 6 years that I lived there, from 2009 to 2015, 2014, she would have me do every type of competition and audition for every young artist program. One of them being the Music Academy of the West, where I met Marilyn Horn in the summer of 2014. And I remember distinctly singing excerpts from Norma. I'd been learning Norma at that time. And James Morris happened to be there and one of my coachings, and I got to sing excerpts from Norma with him.
Wow.
And from there, I think she called Maestro James Levine. I ended up doing an audition for him that fall and got accepted the next spring in 2015, May of 2015. And it was, I will say, some of the best 3 years of my life.
Mm.
I learned so much.
Tell the patrons we have here of what's the life of a Lindemann artist? What's it like? What do you do there as a Lindemann artist?
I don't know if I can speak for everyone or only to a certain extent, but for me, I lived at the Met. I really didn't have much of a social life. I was so grateful and then kind of enamored to be there because I never thought of myself as being in that realm. So I was there every day. I loved that I had access to the whole building, and I knew that it was a great opportunity. I knew that it was a once in a lifetime thing for me. So I made the most of it. I made friends with the cafeteria people, the construction workers, the stage hands, the people that did the paperwork on the 5th and 6th floors. I mean, I made sure everybody knew who I was because I was telling myself, I'm going to be here one day. I really did. I did that. And I would stay there and study every night. Ken Noda was my coach and Maestro Levine when I started there. And they really challenged me, gave me a lot of hard stuff, but I always rose to the challenge. And I'm grateful for that. They were hard on me, but it was to make me who I was and prepare me for what I'm doing now. So I'm very grateful for the experience. Very grateful.
So the Lindemann Program, for those of you that don't know it, is a national program of the Met that really grooms. It's not unlike the Adler Fellows at San Francisco, but it's more prestigious and also really focused on the cream of the crop that can have really high career potential and giving each artist what they need, right? It's very focused on you as an artist, preparing you.
Yeah.
And I think that they always look at Lindemann participants as people that they'll think will make it to the Met stage. I mean, that's the preparation for it. So I know that you had some conversations with the Met before COVID. Are any of those still conversations that are happening?
I don't know how much I'm allowed to share. I can just say that some things are happening.
Good.
It seems that the future is looking brighter despite COVID, and I shall be on stage sooner rather than later. And
awesome.
Hopefully COVID doesn't mess anything else up. But
yeah, I think
I have a lot of good things in the future.
Good. Well, and most companies like us, like the Met, like San Francisco, Los Angeles, they're all just having to try to either roll things forward or cancel and then do something else, but keep those artists in mind. So that's fantastic to hear. I'm really glad. And I'm glad you've been able to sort of park yourself around your family in this trying time while you just wait.
Yeah.
So my story about when I first heard Michelle was when she was a Lindemann artist. And all of you as trustees know our wonderful Carol Lazier. And for Michelle, was our board president, was our board chair, but also was one of the people that, probably the person that made the biggest challenge and put her money where her mouth was to make sure that San Diego Opera did not close when it almost closed in 2014. So I nominated her through Opera America for a National Trustee Award, and she received the award. And you sang at that dinner. I don't know if you remember that. It was at a club on the Upper East Side. And I was sitting in the front table because I was with Carol, and she was being honored, and she had to get up and make a small speech. And I was 10 feet away from you. And I think you sang Hernani.
Verdi.
No.
I think it was
Yes.
either D'amor sulla li rose
Exactly.
or
That was
Aida.
exactly right.
It was Verdi.
Yes. Yeah. So Torre, but and then he's got the whole world in his hands. So you sang the two of those, and I was like blown away by you. So I ran up to Michael Heaston, who was one of the people that worked with you at the Lindemann program, and I'm like, I got to find a way to bring her to San Diego. We got to figure this out, right? So that took a bit of time, and it took a bit of time talking with Michael, who talked to Peter Gelb, to say, we're going to give Michelle all the resources that she needs to make sure it's a good role debut for her, but it should be something that you guys want her potentially for at the Met. So we're not going to give her a watered down Aida. We're not going to give her an Aida that has a short rehearsal period. We're going to give her, and I'll work with a conductor that I know Michelle's either knows or that she wants to work with, or so we tried to structure it all around you. But I was just like I am when I hear you on the internet and everything, I was blown away by your singing that night. So it was remarkable. And so one of the last video I want to show is the second of what you sang. He's got the whole world in his hands, which you sing a lot, right? You sing this at a lot of.
I like to close my recitals out with it. And
Yeah.
it was one of the first songs I learned as a little girl. My mom taught it to me, so it's pretty special.
It's really beautiful, as we all know, those of you that know the song. It also is really beautiful in your hands, the way you treat it. And you sing it with a lot of gratitude and grace, so it's very beautiful. But I wanted to play the recording that you did as a Met Lindemann artist in a park. It was outside Socrates Park, probably, right? Yeah. Park.
Yes.
So I just want to warn our patrons, the video quality isn't always perfectly stationary like you would see inside, but your singing of it is so wonderful. And what you say beforehand is also remarkably wonderful. And I think it shows who you are as a person. So we get to hear you as an artist and see who you are as a soul, which is part of why you're so remarkable. So let's watch the last video. Joey.
Everyone, I want to leave you with a song of encouragement. We're living in a very, very difficult time where we don't know at all what tomorrow holds. And I want you to know before you go home and get back to your normal life that you're not alone, that there's still hope in the world, and that there's still a lot of love. And it's our job to continue sharing those things. Yeah. I know that we all have different skin colors and different belief systems and views of how the world goes, but above all things, that should never ever stop us from loving and respecting each other and our lives. This is a piece that was taught to me when I was very small. My late parents, Wayne and Doreen Bradley, I miss them and I love them very much, and they taught me a lot about love and believing in something greater than myself, and having the power within myself, just like as you, to change and be the change that I want to see. He's got the whole world in his hands as a piece by Margaret Bonds. I want you to go away, hopefully touched by this, and know that to not grow weary in your well-doing, to don't give up, living your life each and every day as best you can. Thank you. He's got the whole world in his hand. 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 He's got the woods and the waters in his hand. He's got the woods and the waters in his hand. sun and the moon right in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got the birds and the bees right in his hand. He's got the birds and the bees right in his hand. He's got the beast of the field right in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got you and me right in his hand. He's got you and me right in his hand. He's got everybody in his hand. He's got the whole in his hand. He's got the
I never heard anybody sing that like you sing it. So it's remarkable in so many ways. Like,
Thank you.
yeah, so moving, so remarkable. I loved what you said at the beginning. That's a generous thing to do as an artist before you sing, to talk like that. So yeah, so I think I wanted everybody to see kind of who you are as a singer, but also who you are, because it comes through your singing, and we really see it when you speak and you share yourself. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I have my parents to thank for that, though. That's
Yeah.
all what they taught me.
That's great. All right. I do try to keep this to an hour, and I want to thank you so much, Michelle. And I'm so glad you're doing well. And we look forward to the next time we can bring you back here. And I'm thrilled that your career is going to survive. Yeah.
Well, thank you, San Diego Opera and David and everyone. It was a wonderful experience when I was there. And it's filling me up right now to be talking with you and reminiscing over so many things. It's really taking my mind off this COVID stuff. So thank you, everybody.
Good.
I hope to see you again soon.
We will. You will be back in San Diego, I promise. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.